To the Wareham Finance Committee. Today is Wednesday, March 22nd. It is 6:30 PM. Can I ask the clerk to call the roll, please?
We got Tom Hannon, Julie Moran, Dominic Camerano, Daryl Stefanski, Tom Worthing, Jody Smith, myself, Norma Scogan, and Bernie Pigeon, all present.
Thank you. First item on our agenda is the accept of meeting minutes. We have 4 of them. I have passed them out to you, I believe. First one is February 8th. May I have a motion to approve, please,
I move we approve the minutes.
Second.
as written?
I have a suggested change.
Yes, in February 8th?
On all of them,
Okay.
put the date on every page.
Every page? Oh, okay.
Going forward, yeah.
Motion's
Because, I
made.
mean, you get 6 together and you gotta start getting 2 with what you get them mixed up. If you're an older person.
Well, who is?
Speak for yourself.
And who is?
The pages aren't numbered.
Huh?
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Any other discussion? There being none? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. The next one is February 16th.
I move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion, corrections? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. March 1st.
I move to approve.
Second.
That boy, I'm gonna keep up.
Any
Good rhythm there.
discussion, corrections?
I believe this is the one where Judith Whiteside is referred to as selectman's chairman. I don't know if our minute taker knows that we're supposed to be referring to the select board rather than select
But at the time
man.
of those minutes, isn't that what, was it
I
changed?
think it changed right around then, I don't know.
Well,
exactly.
Judy's always concerned, so she'll not notice it.
Might be a good idea just to let Kelly know
I will.
going forward about that too.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. March 8th.
I move to accept.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any corrections or discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Just to be advised, I didn't call the roll only because we were all present. Okay, I also have an invoice for Kelly. Next week. Calculator, here it is. 9.5 times 25.
Yeah, it's still $25 an hour, right?
175?
175?
No. Nine,
No, wait a minute.
9 times 25.
We're the finance committee
225.
guys.
225.
225.
Math in my head.
So we have phones and stuff for.
Did you say 9 times 25 or 9.5 times 25?
Oh, yeah.
9.5.
Okay, then it's not 225, guys,
It's two-
okay.
280.
It's 237.50.
Thank you.
Yeah, 237.
Guys,
You're
you're not gonna pull numbers off.
I'm good.
Cheating.
You have to take your shoes off.
237.50.
I'm gonna change our budget, Tom.
237.
Okay, Kelly has submitted an invoice for those 4 minutes that she's done of 9.5 hours, or a total of $237.50.
I move to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Because it's money, I'll ask clerk call the roll, please.
Tom Hannon,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
Dom,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes. Here.
Jody,
Yes.
myself, yes, Norma,
Yes.
Bernie,
Yes,
900, motion passed.
thank you. Next item on our agenda.
Bernie, I
Yes.
really did want the date on every page.
Certainly, I understand, Tom.
Okay.
I've oftentimes been frustrated at getting something, and I get a duplicate the following week, and I don't know which one is the current.
You need me to submit those to the clerk?
I haven't signed them yet.
Okay.
First item on agenda is the Upper Cape budget we're gonna review this evening with Mr. Superintendent Roger Forget. I'm a fellow frog, so.
So you say it correctly. My father was a joker, so most people will say forget, and my middle initial is D, so it's Roger doesn't forget.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and FinCom members. It gives me great pleasure to present our Upper Cape Tech budget for FY '24 this evening. If you don't mind, I'll kind of push it from here, and so you can see it there.
Right behind you.
There you go.
Yeah. Thank you.
Do you want to choose the building?
No, I'm fine, I'm fine. So our first line is our budget subcommittee, which is made up of our chairperson, Robert Fitchemeyer from the town of Wareham, Michael Deegan, our treasurer from Sandwich, Dominic Camerano from Wareham, and Mary Ann Smith from Falmouth. A little bit about our technical programs. All 15 are on the left-hand side of the page here. And our co-op employment. For the school year 21-22, 64% of our seniors participated in co-op employment. 36% of our juniors, and they could only start after midway through the year, so upon January to the end of the year, to participate in co-op. Their total earnings represent $1,138,555 for the school year 21-22. Pretty amazing. It really breaks down to averaging about $7,000 a student. Keep my finger on the right buttons. This is a sampling of our co-op employers along with our students, and again, this is just a sampling of some of our co-op employers. Post-secondary plans and college selections. The column on the right represents just, again, a sampling of some of the colleges our graduates have attended. 46% of our graduates go on to post-secondary institutions. Those include Wyotech, Ohio Diesel, Johnson & Wales, that are truly applicable to their vocational areas. 49% of our graduates go immediately into the workforce, and 5% enlist in military services. As we go through, if you have any questions, please, I'm happy to answer them on each slide. This is our per pupil comparison. The column on the left represents Upper Cape Tech and our operating assessment, and the column on the right is from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, is the per pupil cost for those towns. Going all the way down to the bottom, you can see Wareham, after all of the aid, is represented in $14,200 per student, and in town, it's $21,824 is the cost to educate a senior, or I shouldn't say a senior, a high school student.
No, excuse me, Roger.
Yep.
Is that all in, that is to say, includes your benefits and your debt?
No, this is purely the operating assessment. Well, to that end, it includes some of it, but not our capital and not our transportation, the other pieces that are outside of. That is purely the cost to educate the student.
And that's fiscal year '21?
This is, yes, FY '21. That's the latest information on the Department of Education's website, so I have only that to draw from, and I do that to put that in our slides. Our enrollment by regional district. This year, the enrollment in Wareham has gone up 9 students. In FY '23, we were at 229. FY '24 is now 238 students.
And you completed your admissions for the coming year, is that how that's determined?
No, our admissions is rolling complete through the year. So far, 260 students as of yesterday had been accepted. I really won't know until we get to June, where they have a commitment point that they actually decide. But our enrollment has increased each year. We have almost 800 students at the school. That was again built for 5. But we continue to grow each and every year. This is our minimum contribution, and as we go directly to the bottom, you can see the change from FY '23 to FY '24. Some of the drivers that are driving our budget this year: contractual obligations. Our teachers have an increase of 2.25%. Our health insurance increase, which we belong to the Cape Cod Municipal Health Group, that has a 4% increase. Our vocational supplies, as we've seen today, everything costs that much more. A dozen eggs, a 2x4, everything has increased for cost to all of our vocational shops. And the social emotional services that we provide to our students post-COVID.
Question. I noticed in your budget, the social emotional services went up quite a bit. Could you just, a minute of.
So last year, I was able to roll that right into our ESSER funds. I put that in to remove that through. That represents a position that we have to fund now. And quite honestly, it is necessary based off of the students coming in and some of the needs that they have post-COVID. Both social emotional as well as medical. We're seeing medical diagnosis that we've never seen in all my years in education. Never even heard them and had to look them up to say, what is that? Absolutely something very different. COVID has changed our society in more ways than we can even begin to imagine. I included this slide to show you that the teachers at Upper Cape really don't leave. Once they come, they stay, and they finish out their careers at Upper Cape. The column on the left represents the number of years they have been at Upper Cape. Once you hit your 13th year, every year beyond that leaves you just at the 13th year. The levels across the top are educational attainment, both for academics as well as for vocational. As you can see, the bottom step, which is the highest paid step, represents nearly half of the teachers at Upper Cape Tech. And it says that once they're there, they enjoy teaching there and they're not leaving. We don't have
Stay
very
for
much
the
attrition.
food.
That's why I stay down, yes. So let's begin our budget. And I've included last year's and this year's so you can see the change and where they are. In our school committee line item, again, a modest increase. That's again in contractual as well as supplies for our school committee. Superintendent's office is contractual obligations as well as the supplies for my office. Business and finance, again, those are contractual supplies, but more importantly, the high-tech piece that we had to bring in for supplies for our institution. School leadership represents our principal and all of our administrators, and those again are contractual increases as well as our supplies. Curriculum and department leaders are all of our department heads that we have in the school, and that again it represents both contractual increases as well as supplies for their office. Teaching services, I mentioned to you early on, 2.25% increase. In that line item, that also has one academic teacher and one vocational teacher this year. Again, our enrollment is up, and so in keeping with our ratio of students to teachers and trying to maintain that, because it's a firm philosophy, belief on our part, that success is truly tied to the number of students to teachers, we've added 2 teachers. And one's culinary arts, so that helps.
Oh, wait a minute, no desserts or finished the finance.
I was asked to bring some, I didn't, but I should have.
What is the student-teacher ratio?
So in the shops, it's 14-1. I had 30 students choose culinary arts this year in 9th grade. The shop is expanding, and as I mentioned early on, we are currently writing for a capital skills grant to the Department of Ed, and hoping, it's $500,000, hoping to expand both an outdoor kitchen as well as a food trailer and truck. Professional development has again a very modest increase. Instructional materials represents $35,000. That, for our 15 shop areas, breaks down to just over $2,000 per shop area. Based off of the cost of what everything is today, you can see how quickly that can be eaten up. Our instructional technology, again, a very minor increase on contractual as well as supplies.
What is instructional technology?
So that there is anything that we're using, like, for instance, the laptops and the boards. We have Promethean boards in all of our classrooms, so I'm constantly upgrading them and the software to them. They allow the ability for our teachers to be able to work with Chromebook, which all of our students have. We're a one-to-one district. They can take all of their notes and send it right to the Chromebook. The students will have it there. It also, because we use Go Guardian, it's a piece of software that our instructors can see what our students are looking at. So if, for instance, if we were having a class in here this evening and you were looking at Bass Pro rather than my presentation, I would see that and be able to send you a message that says, please put Bass Pro away and look at my presentation because this is what we're doing today. You could call the student out, but it's much easier to be able to send a private message right to the student and let them know, uh-oh, I'm being watched.
Are you buying online courses and things like that?
We do have some web-based courses for virtual high school. I do not have foreign language at Upper Cape Tech, but I will, if any student wants it, provide it to them outside of the school day. My only requirement is that you get a C or better. If you don't, then you're gonna have to reimburse me for that class, otherwise I'm gonna pay for it. I've had a student, it's a matter of fact from Wareham, brilliant student, is now at Tufts University. His senior year, Chinese, Russian, and AP US History. An A right across the board, student was brilliant. Definitely an anomaly, and from the town of Wareham. So.
That's not an anomaly.
No, that's not an anomaly, but it is for Upper Cape. Good point,
Well,
well put, well placed. Well
Comment
placed.
between that, yes.
Absolutely. I misspoke on that. Okay.
What does anomaly mean?
You're killing me, Tom. Killing me.
Our guidance line item represents a decrease. We had 4 guidance counselors at the school. One had an opportunity to go on to administration at a sister school, and we encourage that. We never want to hold anyone back. And we had a retirement. So I only replaced with 1 guidance counselor, and that shows the savings in that line item. Mr. Fitchemeyer. Our psychological services, as was mentioned earlier, you can see the increase that's in there. And again, I was able to put that into ESSER last year, so there was no cost to the towns, but I've had to include that position. In this line item, it is so extremely important for all of the students, and as we continue to expand Upper Cape, it's going to become more and more important. I will share with you with my colleagues, we are seeing now a very beginning, a glimmer of light at the kindergarten level, that the students are socially, emotionally, much more connected like they were pre-COVID. Just the cost of what it's done to all of our youngsters, none of us could have anticipated what that was. And that's going to be the ripple effect out for a number of years. Our medical health service, that is our school nurse, and with a ratio of almost 800 to 1, we included a half-time nursing position. Again, rather than just jumping, we're increasing gradually, so that cost is not on to our sending towns. We're very cognizant of that. So that represents a position and a half. Athletics, coaching, and officials, again, those are contractual obligations as well as the cost of athletic supplies. Student activities, I felt that I could maintain the level of service that we have without increasing. If you've been to any of our plays, some of that they're able to fund within themselves. So again, being cognizant of that, I don't need to increase line items where I feel I can maintain it, and I'm not going to do that because I'm extremely frugal. Our school security, you may have read or seen online, Bourne's Patrolman Association in their new contract mandated a 4-hour minimum for all details. We moved from 2 hours to 4 hours. It increased, and the cost, because it's $60 an hour now, $47,000, which is represented in that line item, the increase from 0 to 4. And we're still in negotiations with the town to see if we can get that back. If we can, it's only going to open up for me to have a detail in the morning as well as the afternoon with 2 and 2.
You can't just add it to the student cost?
Two 4-hour shifts.
It would be, well, right now, it's only one 4-hour shift that I have included in there. In negotiation, which is going extremely well with the Patrolman Association, of going back to the way it was, which is a 2-hour minimum. If I'm able to do that, I'm gonna split the detail to be 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon, just so we have a detailed officer at the bottom of the hill. And in light of the bridges and the mess that it's made, in doing, it's awful. It's just
Tom, did
awful.
you want
And,
to say?
you know, so many of my students are junior operators coming out of that. It's not something that we can fool around with. Your question, sir?
Well, I was just saying, if Bourne is gonna up it, and it's specific to Bourne, I would just charge them higher per student.
And I would,
So I'd make that up. But never mind, you've got to take.
I would
care
like to do that, but I don't think I can. But I although I live in Bourne, so. But I do understand.
Well, your sewage rate is going up, so.
Yes,
don't
it
worry
is.
about
Yes, it is. So that's what that line item represents. Custodial services, again, that is a contractual increase as well as the supplies for the custodians. Our heating and utilities, you'll remember back a couple of presentations back, we put in new boilers at the school, high efficiency, as well as the solar array that we have out in our parking lot, helps to maintain, it's at 9 cents a kilowatt, helps to maintain our overhead. It's been a mild winter, so I chose not to have any increase in our heating and utilities line item to maintain that moving forward. I might be wrong, but I think I'm gonna be okay.
Now, Roger, excuse me, that solar that you have, is you own it or lease it?
So they're leasing the property
Yeah.
from us. After 20 years, it's ours. So in addition to leasing it, we were able to lock in half of the energy that they produce from solar at 9 cents a kilowatt for 20 years. So it helps to maintain my overhead costs, because I know what I can count on moving forward and what those costs are gonna be. It's not an unknown. If I could put up more solar, I absolutely would. It would only help me for the future to maintain my overhead.
it. Do you teach geothermal and,
Listen, up on the hill with all the gravel that we're sitting on, if I could burrow right down, I would. I think that's a great idea.
but it isn't part of your education process?
It's not yet, no, not, listen, I'm already getting in enough trouble the way it is with everything I do on campus. I don't think they would allow me to do that they might frown on having my kids start to dig, great big holes everywhere, to put in the geothermal, as much as I would like it, cause I think it's great.
Well, then hydrogen as well, I mean, there's a lot of different.
There
things that are
absolutely
happening.
is. We did try wind up there,
I was part of the first wind one, yeah.
So, there were some definite concerns. We actually did a study to see if we would put it up. The base was not very receptive to having large turbines right there. But solar seemed to be the way to go. So we've done that, and moving forward, I mentioned last year about our statement of interest with MSBA, because we need a new roof. And I'll speak to that a little bit later. Our roof is 25 years old. It's guaranteed for 20 years, so we're way beyond that. So we do need a new roof on the school. If I'm able to get that through MSBA, I'm looking at options to put solar on the roof, because we're putting in a very different system. Currently, we have a tar and paper buildup to about 6 inches, which is a very old method of roofing. That weight, along with stone, that weight taken off the roof is going to avail itself to be able to put up solar on top of it, and that would have definite savings for us on, again, the utility side of things.
I would not bet solar 20 years from now, so.
Really?
Yeah. I think you gotta stay on top of all of the things that are coming down the
Everything
pipe.
that's being done. I actually,
It's just on a prototype,
Yeah,
test basis.
Yeah. We just received a grant, one from the EPA and 2 from the Commonwealth of Mass for electric buses. And so I was just meeting with Anderson Busing today, as a matter of fact, about how to pull that back off of, and we're very fortunate at the school. We have 2 transformers, so I'm able to tie in. They have plenty of space in both of them to tie in and draw right off of the grid. There are plenty of places that are still scratching their head wondering how they're going to be able to do that. We're fortunate that we have that ability, and I have instructors that are able to actually do that work. I'm looking at having three, no cost to the school, 3 electric buses that I will be able to utilize moving forward. So trying to stay on top of it, as you're suggesting, of all of it, that will, at no cost to the district, but certainly enhance our ability to keep our bottom line very low, with very little updating and costs.
Yeah, good.
So maintenance of grounds, again, are contractual increases as well as supplies. Our maintenance of our buildings, again, those are contractual increases and just the cost of supplies for that. Maintenance of equipment, cost again of doing business to maintain all of our equipment on campus.
Roger, when I went through your building with some guests with me last Saturday, excuse me, I told them that building was 50 years old. They couldn't believe it,
Right.
the way you people maintain.
It's a credit to the students as well as to the staff in what they do. And you've heard me say it before, but truly I am very blessed because they maintain, there's no graffiti at the school, minor, and it doesn't exist. And the school itself is maintained, the students maintain it, because, as I said about the horticulture student maintaining the grounds, you don't want to mess up what your buddy has just done, because there's going to be a concern. You don't want to do that because your friends are the ones that are maintaining all of that. And there's a sense of pride, a sense of community on the campus. We're a melting pot. Students coming from 5 different towns that are all reinventing themselves and having a fresh start, and they take that right into the school, and they've done a great job. Employee benefits, again, this is where I mentioned early on about the Cape Cod Municipal Health Group. A 4% increase, and our newer families went from individual to family plans. I have 6 teachers, and we will have 6 additions for this coming fall. So they're trying to help enrollment, I guess, down the road. Our insurance plan, again, that is just the cost for building and liability insurance, student insurance, cost of doing business. Programs, school choice, we do not participate in school choice, but if a student was coming from any particular town and going to another, for instance, from Bourne going to Falmouth, which has a Chapter 74 program, that would go through our budget. Cost is about $4,000 a student, or $5,000 a student, that represents 4 students. Our total foundation budget, $17,880,068 this year. Our Chapter 70 aid has increased. This year, the aid is $4,451,242. Our anticipated interest revenue of $30,000. Our anticipated municipal Medicaid of $10,000. And our excess and deficiency, our E&D. We were certified for our E&D to be 202 and change, I'll say $203,000 over our E&D, which must go back into our budget. School committee voted to put $500,000 to add to that amount, nearly $300,000, to again help out the towns. So it's only money to offset the assessment to the towns. The total is $4,991,242. Taking that from our total foundation leaves us with a net foundation budget of $12,888,826. For FY24, it represents a 3.95% increase.
Roger,
Yes, sir.
the E and D,
Yep.
do you still have a surplus in that account after you've taken?
No, so what E&D is like free cash for our municipality. Our E&D is set so that our school committee, if we were to have a catastrophe and we needed to have money, we have no ability to go back to the towns. As a matter of fact, I can only come to the towns once a year. I come into spring for our budget. I don't have the ability to come back in the fall. Your town school actually absolutely has that ability to do that at your fall town meeting. So regional vocational schools only have one shot at the apple. So they're allowed to keep an E&D as free cash. It's 5% of whatever your budget is that year. Each year at the end of the year report, which is filed, it ends June 30th, it's filed by the end of September. They will certify your excess and deficiency, and anything that is up and over is sent to all 5 towns, to the town administrators, to say Upper Cape Tech has, and in this case this year, $203 over their E&D. That must be applied back to the budget. As soon as I get that, explain that to our school committee, and we vote on the fact of what we want to add to the budget as we're presenting it. And this year, the school committee saw fit to add more than that. So they took $300,000 out of that E&D account to add to the 203, well, 297,000 to add to the 203 to make it 500,000 this year. Other questions? Dom likes to make sure I'm well under 4% each year. I'll share that with you. It's a must. Transportation. The transportation provided by the district, and I do this after you see the budget, so that you know exactly transportation, because there is the anticipated aid that goes with it, along with our LPN, and that's why I include it afterwards. The transportation provided by the district, the cost is $332,624. Our contracted transportation, which is an additional route this year, is $1,157,000. Our total transportation represents $1,489,624. Our anticipated transportation aid, which comes right off of the Governor One's cherry sheet, is $879,921. That leaves us with a balance of $609,703. Moving on to our LPN program, our total cost will be $765,396. Our anticipated tuitions will be $782,250. That leaves us with a profit of $16,854. We subtract that from the net transportation of $609,703. It leaves us with a combined net transportation and LPN of $592,849, which is divided amongst the 5 sending towns.
Roger,
Yes, sir.
you said there's an additional route?
Yes.
Is that because there's more students?
Because there's more students, absolutely, yep. We're also locked in, we can't do more than 75 miles within a route as it goes out and comes back. So we're very cognizant of looking at those. Lucini Busing has been awarded the bids in the past. We just put 5 routes out to bid. I've had interest, which I haven't had in the past, of 3 other bus companies, so crossing my fingers to see what that looks like.
Is the LPN program an adult education program?
Post-secondary, yes, which is
Post-secondary.
why it's outside of the initial budget.
And it's evenings, weekends?
Days,
It is during
it
the,
is during the day,
with the
yep.
students, the other
Yes.
students there?
And
Yep.
obviously you charge a tuition for each
Yes.
student? Okay.
Yes, and that's, so our anticipated tuition for that amount coming in exceeds what our costs are gonna be. So that's why we take the profit right away from the transportation, so the cost being sent back to the towns is less than that. Our capital this year, again, where I can keep the budget line items very close and tight, I did not increase the capital, $130,000, and our stabilization fund of $175,000, same thing as last year. That in the past was for, paid the bond for the windows. Once we paid that off, we've now set up that account for our roof. After this payment, we'll have close to, or just about $1 million in it. If we were able to get into MSBA, the feasibility cost for a new roof is somewhere between $7 to $10 million. That $1 million would be put right up front to take that off of the cost of that roof. Our reimbursement rate in the past has been about 38% from MSBA, so it leaves us with whatever is left afterwards.
How much of the building roof would be subject to that project?
The entire main building is what we're discussing. Every other outbuilding that's been done has an asphalt architectural shingle that we can maintain and do ourselves. This one here because it's the size of it, I can't possibly do it with staff and students. And I wouldn't, it's just too large of a project and beyond their capabilities at this point. Every good presentation, I believe, has a pie chart, so I want to make sure I have one in here as well. So that we know where our dollars are being spent. 61% of every dollar that's coming in is going right to instruction. 20% is set for fixed charges, 10% for operations and maintenance, 4.2% for student services, and administration represents 4.69%. Again, our FY '24 represents a 3.95% increase. Our enrollment, so the percentage on the operating budget is based off the number of students that you have coming to Upper Cape Tech. With 238 students this year, and you can see the total is 793 students. The percentage is 0.30013, and the changes from last year. The percentage on the capital is very different. That is calculated based off the total number of students within the town. So it does not include kindergarten, it's first grade through 12th grade. And this year, Wareham is down the number of students. They have 1,773 students. And you can see that the percentage, that the cost of capital has decreased for the town of Wareham, 0.20045. And there are our town assessments and the increase. Again, you saw the earlier with the minimum contribution, which was 100 and, off the top of my head.
58.
There we go. Dom, thank you so much. And the actual increase is $94,935. Questions? We'd like to thank you for your support. We appreciate all that you do for Upper Cape Tech.
No athletes.
No
You can't have any of our athletes.
I can't have any of your athletes. Oh, okay. Well,
That's your
my
basketball.
basketball coach is gonna be very sad to hear that.
Still the state champs.
Yeah, yep, yep.
Roger, there's been a great deal of loss of learning over the past 2 years. Is there anything in your programs, now my grandson, he's at Oak Colony, and he has commented that he's graduating now,
Yep.
and because of the lack of time, there are certain things he wasn't able to do or learn. Have you got any remedial classes going on to catch up?
So, unlike some of our sister schools across the Commonwealth, I refuse to take other time away from one program, borrow from Peter to pay Paul. If we're going to do anything, it's gonna be outside the school day. So I do run some enhancement programs. We have a 9th period, because we have 8 periods in our school day, that the students can stay Monday or Wednesday for 2 hours, and then we run a late bus to get them home. They can stay on Tuesdays or Thursdays for 1 hour. We run a late bus for that too, to get home. We don't stay on Friday, because trying to keep teachers way and beyond is not gonna happen. Nor is it for the students. It's only myself and a few other people that hang out there. But we do that every week, so that's available to them. It represents about 6 hours that they could utilize both academically or vocationally. On any given week, the teachers are always there. I didn't build it into the school day, because again, you'd have to rob from somewhere to make that up, and I'm not willing to do that.
And what's the participation rate? Pretty good, or
In classes,
the ninth period?
it varies, depending on your vocational area or the academic classes, how well you're doing or not doing, certainly kind of plays into that. So
It's self-directed, in other words, they choose versus a teacher recommending.
self-motivated, yes,
Yeah, teachers
absolutely.
do not recommend or do not counsel them to consider it, or,
They do if it's necessary, so if your grades a C or less, they're certainly going to be calling home. That's the expectation of all teachers, to call home and have that contact with those parents, to say, listen, Johnny needs to avail himself of this, because this is only going to help him to be successful, because it's not happening right now. And we've put in some benchmarks for our students, because we don't want them to slip through the cracks. I have a data specialist on staff who's constantly crunching numbers. So what's the tipping point? This was a question that we posed to him. What's the tipping point of a student not doing well? Not successful first term, not successful second term. When is the point where they're not gonna be successful for the year? So at what point does that happen? And using the data, you can certainly see that. So as you're tracking those students, by the 3rd week in the second term, if that child hasn't done well, you can say, this is a big red flag. This has been the scenario, this has been the path, and we know this to be true because we have the data to prove that. you're gonna have a meeting with the parents, you're gonna have a meeting with the child, say, you need to do something. You need to put some interventions in immediately so that you're gonna be successful. And if you're not, there's a waiting list of 130 students, and, you know, if there's someone that really wants to be here and you're not putting your best foot forward. Because again, there's a sense of, I need to have a work ethic if you're coming to our school. If we're not gonna teach anything else, I want that child to leave our school knowing that there's a work ethic to be on time and that you need to put in the effort to get out the success. Yes, sir.
Do you have a summer program? Summer
We
program?
run a summer camp and a transition camp. So the summer camp is open to rising 6th and 7th graders going into 7th and 8th, and it's a career exploration camp. So the parents will drop them off, and it's 4 days, 4 hours a day, 1 week. And I have parents that would like their child to be here all 4 weeks, not that kind of summer camp. We're going to explore some of the different vocational areas and give them a taste of what it's like to be at Upper Cape Tech. It's a big departure from the town schools. No longer do you have in middle school, you know, carpentry and home ec, wood shop, any of that. So it doesn't exist. So a child coming in is only basing it off of their mom, dad, uncle, aunt, what they see. This provides them an opportunity to see there are some pathways. If you really want to do this, if you're interested in this, here's an opportunity, and we want you to try this ahead of time. So we do that as our summer camp. The cost is $0. You just have to bring your child there, and we'll take care of them from 8 to noon. Pick them up in 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. Again, because of the bridge traffic, I don't want anyone fighting on Friday. Not gonna happen. For our transition students, it's all of those rising 8th graders coming in as 9th graders. I wanna set the expectations clear to them right up front. They're gonna come in again for 4 days, and we're gonna put them through the paces of, this is Upper Cape, you've applied, now you've been successful in getting in, here's the expectation. Your cell phone gets turned off as soon as you come into the school, so if you plan on doing this all day, it's not gonna happen. Again, it's a work ethic. We hear that from employers all the time. I can't have an employee who's constantly on their phone. I'm not paying them to be on Facebook, I'm paying them to work. We're gonna set that expectation. We're gonna help them with that. We're gonna set what's going to happen for 1 week about, a week in academics and a week in shop. What does that mean? What is exploratory? You're going to spend 1 day in all 15 shops. You're gonna choose 5 and spend a week in each one of those shops that you chose. And at the end of it, if you really put your best foot forward, because everything's on a point scale, you'll get your top choice. And you'll be in that right after you return from Christmas. So that's what we do in the summertime. And that happens usually right after, the week after 4th of July, because again, because of the traffic and everything happening. 3 weeks in July, first week in August, those are our 4-week time frame that we do that in.
Mine, Norwalk,
Saturday.
Saturdays. We don't do anything on Saturdays other than sports, or drama, or other activities. We haven't yet, but I'm open to the idea, absolutely. You know, anything we could do to help our students, and not only the students that we have coming, because I've opened up for seniors at our sending schools. If you were at Wareham High and decided, I'm not going to college, what have I been doing? And what am I going to do? I really think I like automotive. Working through your guidance counselor, we could set it up if you have the number of credits and everything else that you need to come to Upper Cape and spend some time in our automotive shop and see if that's what you want to do, because as soon as you graduate, we have continuing ed programs, automotive, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, all of those exist at night at Upper Cape. And I want to open up the door to those students so that they have a pathway too to be successful and stay here in the community. We want to build a good community, and it's our charge to do so. Yes? What else? Yeah, Tom.
Joe,
Go. Sorry.
close enough, Tom, Joe. Oh, no, don't make it, sorry, Tom. I mean, this was fantastic. I did watch this last night, and I don't think you missed a word in the presentation. It was great. I'm telling you, it's very knowledgeable, but I'm gonna follow up on a statement that was made last night about getting more kids to go to the vocational school. I mean, I think it's needed desperately. What is the biggest thing holding you back? Is it classroom space or shop space? Both?
It's really classroom space. The vision that we had years ago, when I was in the carpentry shop, was to expand the school and make it like a community college campus. So those that have been, and then at the end of this, I will invite all of you again to come up for a tour and come up for lunch, and visit the school. We've pushed these shops outside of the school, and then we've remodeled those areas into new academic space. Our engineering building, for instance, we have a new engineering building. Over the summer, we will be cutting that up into 3 academic classrooms. So that will become new academic classrooms. As we're building right now, the new environmental science shops, as soon as they move out, that shop area will get cut up into new academic classrooms. So we continue to do that, but I'm cognizant that I'm trying to keep our costs very low, because I don't want to put the cost back to the town. If we're able to do it in-house and do it ourselves and expand our campus, the environmental science shops are a $2.5 million grant that we were able to procure. And so they're gonna have 3 brand new, 2 classroom areas, a science and greenhouse wet lab, as well as a storage building for all of the equipment that they're gonna be able to purchase with that grant. Everything from Argos, which are, and I'll date myself, anybody that has watched the Banana Splits and knows the little 6-wheel vehicle that are amphibious that they had, we'll have those on campus. They're gonna have kayaks, they're gonna have all of the waders that they need. They'll have their own shop boat so that they can go out and do testing in the waters as well, and some of the shellfish propagation that they can do. It's those kinds of things that make that program so unique. But as soon as we can build that and get that all said and done, we'll repurpose the shop areas from within and make those into new classrooms.
Then you could add a few more students per
Then we
se.
can certainly add some more students, yep.
Nice.
We've outgrown our gym. If we could, if we could roll into the MSBA to have a new gymnasium, because currently I can't put all of our students and staff in the gym. The school is built for 500. And even with all of my students out on co-op on a given week, we're still well over that.
Is the environmental science area that you're talking about a separate building?
These are all separate buildings, so the campus is set up, and we've pushed the vocational areas to be out of the main building. So we've kept all of the academic classes within, but now each shop has their own shop area that's unique unto them. And each design is unique. We kept it consistent, so it's not a hodgepodge. It all looks the same, similar, the theme throughout, but each building and its shape, design, is particular for that particular shop area.
Purpose built, yeah. I did do the tour and I was impressed.
Thank you.
When you're doing your roof,
Yes,
look at it as another story.
the second
before you-
floor.
Before you do that.
Oh, add on. Wouldn't that be nice?
I'd love to dream big. Dom's smiling over here, so,
Money. It only
We
takes
It's only
money.
money.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, you got
money.
Dominic for crying out loud.
It takes money. I try to figure out how to make money all the time. One thing though that I will say, when we build these buildings up there, we're using the kids.
Yeah,
Our
it's
labor
amazing.
cost is a lot less than you would think.
And great
So we can
training.
spend a lot more on equipment and better quality things than as if we had
It's huge.
send it all out for bid, like.
And the way they work, when I was on the tour with Roger, he took me into one of the utility cabinets. I said, that's a work of art. The way they have everything arranged so neatly. And
and that's a housekeeping piece that's absolutely, needs to happen. It has to happen. It's an expectation, because, as my father would say, my father was a cabinet maker and I'm a carpenter, so we're very different in what we do. You're gonna learn bad habits on your own, and you need to learn the right way of doing everything from the get-go. There'll be plenty of shortcuts down the road. Don't need to learn those now. Let's learn the right way to do it, and that's why we start the way we do. That everything should be uniform. The housekeeping should be right. It should all be in a line. Everything plumb, everything level. It's a statement to both the professionalism of the instructors and what they're teaching the students.
Julie,
If you had, if you could do anything, Are there any disciplines that you feel would be really helpful to the tech that you don't already have? Anything out there, future state that everyone's saying this is the next thing for these kids?
So, a couple of things that we've started to look at, and as a matter of fact, we're working with 4Cs at the moment because they have an aviation tech program at Plymouth Airport. So I visited the program over the February vacation. They would love to have our automotive, they'd love to have their own program at Upper Cape that would be a feeder program into theirs. What I offered them was our automotive, auto collision, and marine students, if they would like to follow that pathway, provide them with a classroom so that after school, they could do a dual enrollment starting senior year, but we could back it out to junior year if that so be by the student, if that's really their pathway, to have them get a full year of college credit and that's what I'm working out with the college now, at no cost, that would immediately put them into that program at 4Cs at the Plymouth Airport, so they only had to do 1 year, have an associate's, and be able to start, and the starting pay is $70,000 a year for aviation tech. So we're starting to look at some of those programs. Anything that I would bring in, I want to make sure that it's viable for our demographics here. It doesn't make sense to bring in robotics, or we don't have robotic plants and anything like that. So I want it to be what we have and what is certainly,
co-op
yes.
benefit, yeah, sure.
Yeah, that benefits our communities. So we started to look at that. We've stayed focused to moving the shop areas out just to expand from within, and the academic space from within. And then really, if anything came up that was really a push to do, just as we do with sports. If I have a group of students, so girls field hockey, you don't have a field hockey team. They're starting to be the buzz about having their own field hockey team. Well, we can start that as a club, and if there's that kind of interest, then we're gonna support it, we're gonna pay for it, we're going to have it, and have it as an organized team. I do the same approach to my vocational shops. Is there really that kind of interest to go in that particular area?
Norma?
Sort of following up to what you just said, is there any data out there about to what extent the graduates end up staying in the area, going back to their own towns or any of that?
Not that I'm aware of, off the top of my head. We do a 1 year and a 5 year follow-up just to track our graduates in positive placement to see that they're still in their vocational trade areas where they might be. I have that data, but it doesn't tell me where they're living. You know, it's pretty, we're reaching out, and now most of it is email rather than the snail mail of years ago where you'd be able to say, oh, it's here. But now on email, I really don't have an address.
Anywhere.
It could be anywhere, could be anywhere.
Roger, what percentage of your students are in the National Honor Society?
It has to be, of total students, it would be somewhere in the neighborhood of about, oh, it's not, is it 1%? Let's see. I have a total of about 20 students in my National Honor Society that make that cut each year, that get in total. Very high standards of what they can do and what they have to do for their community service piece, for their leadership piece, for their citizenship piece. It plays in, so we're very fussy about that. It's not just wide open.
Well, and that requirement is the same as the requirement over here.
Yeah, it's very tough to get in, and those students have really put in that effort, and we applaud that, to do that. And we have that one night a year in the fall. Our induction is usually late November, early December. If you'd like, I can send you the date and the invite, because it's pretty amazing to
See,
see.
it was my grandson's whole colony.
Okay.
He's in National.
Yeah, again.
That's a
big-
criteria his mother has set now.
Well, it's a very prestigious piece to be involved and to be inducted into that society. You've really put yourself and set yourself apart. We're fortunate this year, our outstanding vocational student, Henry Knox, is actually from Falmouth, but he's also a U.S. presidential scholar. You just had Jeff Riley, we brought him up to Marlboro to be, he's one of 6 in the Commonwealth, to be recognized. And that will be moved on to see if he moves on to the federal as well. He just is an amazing young man who's really put himself apart from all of his classmates. So if you come to graduation, you'll hear him speak, because we do valedictorian and outstanding vocational student to speak at our graduation.
That's almost as good as expecting a singing plumber or an electrician. Over the weekend, he had a musical, his kids were performing a musical, they did fantastic. And
Great
it's
job.
the Shop of Horrors,
Yeah.
and you're singing all the way through.
Yeah, singing, the dancing, and you wouldn't know it, but many of the students on there were freshmen.
Yes, because after junior, they don't have as much time
Yeah.
Right.
available.
Right, right. You know, when we look at things, I said to my leadership team, we're 60 days out, people. Let's, eyes on the prize and eyes on the ball, here we go. And they're like, 60 days, I'm like, count it. Graduation, end of school, it goes like that, and it's very fast. So, we don't think about that, but it's true, it's true. So, his senior year is coming to a very quick close.
Oh, he's complaining. Because believe it or not, he just bought a truck I can never afford. He's got a business going already.
I'm not surprised. When you come to the school, if you look outside in the parking lot, all of the large trucks, you're gonna see trailers and the whole bit. Those are my horticulture students that are leaving right from school to go to work. And yeah, their vehicles are pretty.
Well, I did mention you could readily identify the staff parking lot from the student lot.
The Priuses.
Question,
Yes, sir.
do you find that most of the students who go through the co-op are offered jobs? So I have to think that whether they're offered jobs by the co-op, I'm sure they're very attractive to a lot of folks.
They are, and we do job fairs at the school as a regular buy-in from our local employers. In fact, we have one for culinary arts coming. I think we have 12 different restaurants that are coming just to take a look at the students. And, you know, co-op extends itself right through. You start, and I'll use my plumbers as the example. If you start in January, well, the plumbing contractors have already been there November, December to speak with the instructors and the co-op director to set up those interviews and already know what students they're getting. They're gonna work right through the school year, right through the summer, right through their senior year, more likely than not, and continue on. And you're looking for that because, again, we are building in and demanding a work ethic out of our students, and that's the expectation. And it should be. It is our mission to certainly to build that into our education and what we're doing at Upper K.
Anything else? Thank you, Roger. You do a fantastic job over there.
As I said before, I'm blessed, students and staff, they make it very easy, and it's a great place. I've been there 20 years, and I won't be there 20 more, but I will. It's been wonderful working there with the staff and seeing the vision just continue to grow.
One other question.
Yes.
You have several areas over there in which you take people in and as cosmetology for doing your makeup or hair,
Yep.
vet techs or whatever. How do they contact those particular units for an appointment?
So if they can go to the website and actually go into that shop area, or they can call the school, they'll put them right to that shop, cosmetology. They're actually taking reservations to set up for whether it's a hair appointment, nail appointment, perm, pedicure, day of beauty, that's, you know, nose, hair, should say hair, toes, fingers, whatever. You can see I don't spend a lot of time there. Culinary, look at Don.
But I do.
Culinary, automotive as well, they would call to set up and have you come in with your vehicle to take a look at and assess whether it actually is something that they can work on with the students right away or not. Because again, these are students working on it, this is educational, it's not an automotive shop that they're gonna have a 6-hour turnaround and out the door. We may have to have your vehicle there for a couple of days, and we want you to know that up front. Same thing with auto collision, same thing with boats, whether they're being winterized or they're being commissioned, working on the outboards, the inboards, the fiberglass, whatever it might be. They're gonna tell you some kind of time frame that you're gonna have, so you have an expectation. of what you wanna do, but you can simply call the school.
You call it a shop. You have it all set up, though, it is a business
It is.
situation.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reception, there's a waiting area, et cetera.
Well, again, we're looking to emulate business with our students. We want them always, and I'm sorry, I have my back to you. We want them always to be prepared for what they're gonna see in the real world. And they're gonna see a reception, they're gonna see that, they're gonna see the billing piece of it, the paperwork side of everything that goes with it. We want that to emulate business so that they're prepared, again, when they leave and graduate and go on. So,
Again, thank you, it's fantastic.
you're welcome. Yes,
One
sir.
suggestion for you, some of your faculty or
Yep.
some of your brighter students, is to go up and see the new museum that MIT has opened. It reviews the history of things that are developed in MIT and the things that MIT is currently got
Doing?
on the, out in the future. It'd just
Neat.
be wide open to what, from at least a technology or even business point of view,
Right, right.
it is coming down the tracks.
I
And it's
will-
only been up, it's only been open for 6 months, I mean, isn't it? You're not looking at Mona Lisa there.
Right. That's okay, I will share that. Again, through your chair, I would love to have the committee come up for lunch and come up for a tour. The weather is getting warmer, so contact me with a date, time, or a couple of dates, times that works for everyone. And if you can't make it and you wanna come up on your own, please feel free, give me a call, and I'm happy to, again, give you a tour and show you around the campus, show you what's happening in Upper Cape Tech.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And if you haven't gone to the Christmas fair for all the baked goods, you're missing out on something.
It's always about
What
the
is-
food.
I won't get
I
into the
love that.
culinary part of it, but, you know, I make a couple trips, when my wife's out doing other stuff, I'm going back and forth to the car carrying stuff out.
My mother,
Yeah.
my mother loved that.
Yeah.
She used to love going
Yeah,
there.
yeah, it's.
What is this fixation you guys have on food?
So it looked
Can
like
you tell by looking at us?
So I look like I haven't missed a meal.
I thought it was just a consequence of COVID.
Oh, yeah.
I will share with you that I was 110 pounds when I started there, so you can see what has happened. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you very
Thank you, you do a fantastic job with the kids. Next item on our agenda, Sewer Enterprise Fund warrant article. Now, we did review the budget itself, but there is a very large portion of it that the enterprise fund runs, and I think we need a better understanding of what you just, how you spend our money, Jim. Well, Sandy,
Did you get my present?
I did. Jim says there's a test, is there? Tom, your wife is at the door. You been good?
Is it time for you to leave?
I think your wife is at
Wife's
the
at the
My
door.
wife is at the door, which one?
I'm gonna tell him.
Yeah. Julie, is it $10 you charge to take me home?
Your Uber driver?
Give me a freebie
I
tag.
can cover that. Thank you for,
I got him, Sherby. I got him covered.
thank you.
I'll take him as far as Arlington Road.
Can walk.
I can walk the rest of the way.
Fill himself up, start the shortcut.
I got my hug. I got my hug.
I think Roger should give a workshop to other department heads about how to present a budget.
Yeah. Amazing what they do, wow. Really impressive.
I'll arrange for a tour, and you'll be even more impressed.
It's amazing. I love being involved in it.
Minor increases more than the local.
They've done some unusual things. The shop, the automotive shop had a gift of a nice MG, and you think, oh, those antique, oh, and it was an old one. They took it apart, made it into an electric car.
Oh, that was a robotic shop.
Wow.
No, that was,
No, that was a robotic shop inside.
well, why would they make a robotic MG?
Well, no, that's where they outfitted it for the,
So if we
Oh,
can
that's
bring
the
in
shop we
some
were
more
going through for
businesses,
that.
we can
Yeah,
bring in
because
some
they
more
rewired
businesses
it
to
and
town.
they,
Yes.
all the
They
servos,
can
yeah, it
expand
was in
their
the,
disciplines.
that wasn't back in the automotive shop, that was inside of the,
Incubator.
Because they had the little robots
A
running around the
theater
shop.
for
An
new
incubator,
dis-
yeah.
I remember that.
new disciplines.
Yeah, 'cause I walked out because of the electric. It was beautiful.
Hello, Jim.
Yeah.
Mr. Gaverty, Chairman of the Water, the Sewer
It's an
Committee.
exam school for all intents and
Order in the
purposes.
court,
You don't wanna
order
do
in the
these
court.
kids away from it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I know.
gentlemen, ladies,
Classes and stuff, no way.
Yeah.
Jim,
Okay, what we've got is an article on it to rescind the $6 million that was voted on.
yes. And what is your committee's?
Well, we want to rescind that article because it's a borrowing article. And pay for that, switch it over to retained earnings and pay for it out of retained earnings. Seems we finally got certified cash on what we have in retained earnings. We have enough money in retained earnings to pay for that without having to borrow.
Yeah, you've got a lot of money in retained earnings.
The balance,
Yes,
Jim, the balance of retained earnings?
17 million. Oh, I'm sorry, that's before reductions that we have to keep and our expenses, we've got a net 11,
Yeah, I guess that was about 11.
yeah.
$11,105,574.
Two of that's mine.
Most of that's Dominic's.
That's it, two of it was.
And what can
Would
it,
you just submit us a bill, Dominic, so we get paid?
I want some of it back.
what can that money be used for besides this particular project?
Well,
Retained earnings, I mean.
primarily for projects within the rehabilitation of the plant.
Well, that's what you want to use it for, right, you mean, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons for having it, because anything you do that says sewer connected with it, whatever you think it's gonna cost, double it or triple it. It's crazy. You can't do anything without an engineer. Absolutely nothing can happen without getting an engineer involved. It's crazy. You just don't get any. If you wanna apply for anything, for reimbursements, for any grants, for any, low interest loans, you gotta have an engineer stamp on the project.
Dominic, you wanna make some?
Am I right in saying this? Retained earnings can't be used for new projects, only rejuvenated maybe
Right.
is the wrong word.
Maintenance,
Right,
maintenance and repairs,
okay. Upgrades also, but of the
Right,
same
upgrades.
project, not a new project.
not a new project.
Thank
You can't add to the sewerage.
Yeah.
Now, you wanna rescind the borrowing for the 6 million for the Swift Beach project?
That 6 million is not, Swiss Beach is only a part of that 6 million.
you. There's a whole bunch of things.
So this was the second,
Separate.
alright, so
That
this
6
was,
million was $2 million.
Yeah, that was,
okay, so it's that, alright, cause we had borrowed 6 million for the
Right, but
Swift
it
Beach
was
project,
$2
and then
million
there's three
pieces.
2 million, right, okay.
And
What we're
those,
gonna do is rescind those three $2 million pieces
yeah, we did that
and
in
pay
last,
for it out of retained earnings.
Yeah.
yeah,
and that was for the
Okay.
engineering, right?
yeah, for those three projects.
Yeah, because
That was
that's
for-
not
they
reimbursable.
we rearranged those, I believe, at last town meeting, and then you're including the Swift speech at this town meeting.
No, nothing's, Swiss
Swiss Beach is citizens petition.
Beach is
Yeah, Swiss Beach
totally
is
separate.
citizens.
Oh,
That's-
my
Yeah.
apologies. My apologies, Jared.
Yeah, but that was 6 million, and then the
Yes,
three
yes.
$2 million projects for
Okay.
another 6 million. So,
My apologies.
yeah, they
This
put
is
in
the
for like $12 million
engineering
at the last.
portion of all three of them.
Yeah, they've requested for almost
Yeah.
12 million last.
That
last
money,
meeting.
rather than borrow it, because it's not, we can't get a decent rate of reimbursement on that. Engineering is a whole, you have to pay for that separately. Anything you do.
Excuse me. Does everybody here understand what an enterprise fund does?
It's a net profit, basically.
It's a business.
Yeah, it's an accounting function
That's all.
exclusively.
Income, expenses, net profit. Basically is what it comes down to.
And is it the net profit that ends up in retained earnings?
Correct.
Okay.
No, they just changed the name of it because it makes it more impressive if it's governmental and you give it a different name instead of calling it what it is.
And you just can't sit there and accumulate those monies. If you get to a certain point, you have to consider returning it to the ratepayers in the way of reduced rate, something to that effect.
That'll
And
never
it,
happen.
what triggers that?
It's up to the sewer commissioners, I guess. in this case, be sewer commissioners, but I think there's a trigger of some kind.
There's someplace, I'm not sure what it is, Bernie, but, I mean, we've got so many projects that aren't even on the table yet that are gonna be there.
Mm-hmm.
The money that we've got, that, you know, it sounds like we've got a ton of money there. You know, on paper, it looks nice, but if you look at what's out there as far as expenses to get that plant back to where it needs to be and all.
It all must be cheaper
it's
than building
just
a new
gonna be
one.
And moving it, so it's not underwater.
It's just nowhere near enough.
We just need to put another one somewhere else,
The dollars,
on another river.
you know, you're trying to do this on the best cost-effective way. I mean, there's programs out there where you can borrow at low interest, but they're not always available. And unless you've got certain things done ahead of time, you can't even apply. If you haven't done,
Indeed, yeah.
if you haven't done your engineering studies ahead of time, you can't apply.
Is that, because I know there's a June deadline.
Yes,
Is that, are we on target to make that deadline, I hope? I didn't get a straight answer when I asked Guy.
yeah, so far we're on
Budget
target
meeting.
to do that. I'm just hoping that nothing rocks that boat
Because
to
what I heard
disrupt it.
last fall was March was the deadline to get all the engineering done.
It's just about completed. Hasn't,
Okay.
that's why I say as long as we don't hit a bump,
Yeah.
and I don't think we will at this particular junction. I haven't heard anything that's gonna
Don't say
rattle
that.
that cage negatively.
Well, go to the bank with that, Jim. Or maybe we don't.
One problem with the plant is we have no redundancy.
Zero. Well, you see, when the plant was built, and I wasn't even involved in anything with that at that point in time, that was back in the 70s. No, I'm sorry. Years later than that, was it the 80s?
78, they,
80s,
Yeah,
something
72
like
is a
that.
plan,
But as is typical of Wareham's ability to look forward, which is, you know, plan for lunch tomorrow, they had the program for what should have been built there originally, but because of the cost, we decided we'll scale back. And so the redundancies that were originally proposed, because they cost money, they got cut out. So you did your bare minimum, and, you know, and like with anything else, when you don't have the redundancies in this kind of a thing that involves so many people and so many levels, at some point it's gonna come back to roost, and then you're really stuck. And whatever it cost you today to build something is gonna cost you 3 times as much next year.
Yeah, because some of those tanks that we were looking at when we toured they've filled up in 78 and they haven't been empty since.
That's right.
I would just like to say that Wareham is really out ahead of a lot of places in terms of their water treatment.
Yes,
Issues.
by far, there's no question
So,
about that.
the fact that we
But
sound
the
like we're,
problem is, we would be much further ahead overall for the town's benefit than we are had we done what we should have done in the first place.
okay.
yeah.
I mean, right now you're playing catch-up, you know, for decisions that were made and things that were not done or handled.
We try to stay thin.
And now you catch it, it's all in the last, well, I've been on the board, 6 years now, 7 years. In the last, just in the time frame that I've been on it, since we've had sewer commissioners and I've been part of this, you know, I just look aghast at the stuff that we haven't done that should have been done, and now you're trying to play catch-up with it and get some of these things accomplished. And they're not simple fixes, and anything that you look at doing, it's like these stupid 20-year studies that people do on things. If it has to do with government, if it's a 20-year study, it means you're gonna spend 8 years of it just in dialogue and BS before you ever start to do anything with it.
Because I
You know,
know you've struggled, Jim, that there was no strategic plan, still isn't,
the strategic.
which would have helped 5 years ago, saying, okay, let's plan
You
for
know,
this.
I mean,
Yeah.
I know I'm being sarcastic, but, you know, my take on that whole thing when it comes to the strategic planning is what's for lunch tomorrow. It's just, there's been none.
It should be mentioned in the preambles that we're gonna say in front of the town meeting, that is an important need.
Well, it is a desperate need, but unfortunately, you have your strategic plan, and then you have this 50-year-old thing that breaks.
We got a 10-year plan that doesn't even talk computers, or, I mean, it's nothing.
But if you look at.
It takes a lot of work, and the further out you can look, the better that road is gonna be to travel.
I mean, that's the problem. I mean, you look at the sewer department as it sits, is in trouble. It needs a lot of work. I mean, you saw that in the trip you took around the campus. We're seeing it little by little right now. Look at the Cape with what's being proposed down there on this search. And I said 6 years ago that at some point in time, whether it be federal or state, they're gonna come in and they're gonna require us, the town of Wareham, to be sewered totally. Because you've got,
We're on the water.
we're on the water and we're surrounded by
Nitrogen
so
loading.
much water, and everybody, you know, thinks it's wonderful that we've got 50-odd miles of waterfront. However, that 50-odd miles of waterfront is now creating a major problem for us because of sewage and because of growth. And growth gets restricted, obviously, because if you don't have a place to do something with the sewage, you start Title V's. Well, now Title V's are coming under a real concern when you look at the whole Cape. There are package plants that can be put in areas, but now the minute you start talking about some of those things, now you get into conservation and, you know, 87 other groups waving flags, and it's, you know, the NIMBY attitude.
5-year permit process.
You know, but something's gotta be done, and it has to be, it's gotta be addressed. We're trying to pick at it as we go. We had the situation of relining the forced main from Narrows Pump Station to the plant, which got approved, went out to bid. The bids came back in excess of what was guesstimated, in the WAGs that we had, which had to go back out. Now it's back out to bid again. Supposedly, they were coming in with a product that was equivalent to what was spec'd. And we're looking to go back out with that, only to find out that maybe that product isn't as good as they said it was. So now we're back out to investigating that, but that's gotta get done, and it's gotta get done as soon as possible, because the damn thing is 50 years old. We've got coupons from different parts of it where we've tested it, and find out that, you know, the life expectancy is deteriorated remarkably. The last thing we want to have happen is a Plymouth. And I get panicked every time I start thinking about that, but, you know, there's only so much you can do, because everything you do, and you make proposal here, by the time it comes to fruition, you're 5 years down the street. Because you've gotta go through the engineers, they're gonna come back with a thing, that's gotta go off a bid, it's gotta come back from that, it's gotta be reapproved, we gotta mobilize, and it's all a time factor, and there's no way to jack it up. Now, to make things worse down there, we've got pumps, they're failed, you're ordering pumps. Before, you could get the pumps within 2 months. Now you're looking at 2 years. You know, nobody's warehousing any equipment, they build to order, basically. So, I mean, shelf life on stuff is gone by.
And you can't stockpile it because you don't have, you have 45 pump stations, and you've got
Exactly.
5 or 6 different brands.
Well, that's one of that's part of the whole problem, is to be able to go through this entire plant and try to upgrade and, you know, unify all of these things so that you don't have 45 different kinds of pumps. You have one that's gonna do multiple tasks, or you have got one brand of the different sizes that you need, because you don't need all the same size for every location.
And then it's cost effective to have one or two sitting on the shelf.
But it takes a while, you know, if it was done originally, and if you stepped it through and had that plan in the beginning, we wouldn't be sitting where we are right now. But that takes all the challenge and fun out of it.
Anything else, Mr. Gilberti, that you can, make us feel happy about or anything?
Well, seeing as how, looking at the agenda where I got promoted to being president instead of just chairman, I figure I deserve a raise now.
We'll have to do a study on that,
I think that.
Asked and answered.
yeah.
No.
Any other questions? Just wanted to make sure everybody understood how serious the situation is over there.
No, it's worse than that. I mean, it's, I hate to sound like dirty gloom, but there's just so many problems that need to be addressed and handled. And you can't do them all at once. So we're trying to take them piece by piece, and when we start something, we find that it's not as we anticipated when we made the decision to go ahead and do it, we're backing off to try to find a better solution for the existing problem.
And whatever you do, you can't shut the plant down.
No.
How
No,
can we
because,
help, how can we help?
well, you could have everybody stop flushing for a week.
Or you could write a check
Well, I'll
from.
move to Marion for a week.
They'll all come to our houses, those of us who, we
Fine.
wish,
Ground
we
septic.
wish. We're on public sewer, yeah.
You know, at this point, it's just trying to get one of these things done after another and get them done as quickly as we can afford them. You know, and that's the biggest problem. is
Well, we
affording.
can't afford not to afford it. So,
Well, that's,
I mean, we gotta afford it.
well, what we're trying to do is find everything that's out there for either grant, low interest loan, or whatever, and what we have to do, and can we qualify it? There's money sitting out there, and it's all, you know, rah, 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 we've got this big money that the federal government is authorizing for different things. However, they're not releasing any of it. So, and how do you go about getting it? No, it's one of those, you know, who's on first?
We don't even know if our name's on the list.
Exactly. I mean, and to try to find this out, it's like trying to find out
Talking
what
about
day
the
Santa
federal
Claus
money
is.
that's been given to the state, that's
Well,
what.
Bernie's gonna start a Bitcoin business, and
Well-
he'll be able to pay in Bitcoins.
We'll hop on that right away.
Well, I have to have Jerry that'll take care of the accounting for me.
So, Jim, how many miles of tubing do you have and how many miles of tubing is bad, you think?
Got about 72 miles.
Something like that, yeah.
And
How much is
of it
bad now, did you
or
say?
how much is it good? Which is the lower number?
The
good or the bad?
The lower number, I think at the moment, is what's good. The trouble is, that when you talk about being bad, you've got a ton of smaller pipes that are bad, that create the inflow of seawater that we get from the tides. We've corrected a number of places, but not all by a long shot. You've got some pipes, as I mentioned, the forced main. Well, we're talking about the forced main from Narrows Pump Station to the plant, which is only under 2 miles. That needs to be lined before things, but now you've got the same situation in Onset. We haven't even discussed that particular one, but there's a forced main coming out of Onset from Hines Field, put in at the same time. You know, so, you know, that's gonna have to be done. Yeah, those are the big ones. Then you've got the Kendrick area pump station, which is the industrial park. which feeds into two other pump stations and comes back down. That's pretty much overwhelmed right now. We had problems with that a year and a half ago, and we had to do some serious work there. The first contractor that came in and said he could do it, he got in and he got started, he said he couldn't do it, it was too much for him, so we had somebody else come in and correct it, and got it. However, it's pretty much at capacity. So you wanna try to do something in the industrial park to get business into the town, there's issues there. You've got Cranberry Highway, where Walmart and that gas station and all across the street from it, and that build up in there, they're looking for more gallonage, which we can't give them right now.
Sandy, did you want to say something?
Yeah, sorry, excuse me, Sandy Slavin, Chair of Sewer Commissioners. To answer your question, take a look at the type of pipe that's in Onset.
Oh, yeah.
It isn't just the metals that are around everything else, but you're looking at some very old clay
And asbestos.
and asbestos pipes. So that's part of our problem, is how do we handle the older pipes that were put in there in the 70s? So
And they're deep.
to answer your question, I believe we probably have 60% of our pipes needing to be relined or replaced.
That's why I said, the good stuff is the
Yeah,
smaller
the-
number.
To me, since we started putting in briarwood and stuff like that, I think those have been, all those projects, you know,
Those are better,
those are better,
yeah. 'cause they
Just
do-
better.
only better. But I'm very concerned about the condition of all the pipes in Onset because of the type of material they're made out of. That was just my comment on it, that's all. Sorry, Jimmy.
No, that's all right.
Have you ever known me not to talk?
Not in this lifetime. And I know Alan is deaf, so he doesn't have a problem at all.
No, selective hearing.
How about new users that are, are look to be in the wings to be coming on?
They're still looking.
No E ETA.
At this point, I'm sorry, I wish I had one, believe me, I would, I mean, it's,
We got nobody that's gonna come on in the next year that we need to provide capacity for?
oh, we've got ones that could come on that they'd like to have us provide capacity for, but we can't.
Well, we also haven't got any open applications. The last two that we received a request for, we granted. We've
but
got
they were-
nothing else in the
But they
pipeline.
were minor, yeah,
You know, a couple of bedrooms here and there, but
yeah,
the
they're all minor.
last two projects being Damien's Pantry and Tow Road, we approved.
Yeah, but.
We've got
that
nothing
was-
else.
Toll Road was
What's the
already
one
pushed.
across from, Cranberry Commons up there? We just approved them, money for CPC money, the three major sections.
Woodland Cove or
Woodland
Woodland?
Cove?
Right up by the new fire.
Woodland Cove?
Woodland
By
Cove?
the Onset Fire Department.
Woodland Cove.
Woodland Cove, yeah.
Cove, that was approved years ago.
I know it, but what I'm saying is, how close are they ready to say, we've got tenants?
You'll
We're
have to
gonna-
ask the
Turn us
building
on.
department.
Pardon me?
Ask the building department.
They said August at the meeting.
But,
Yeah.
I mean, they're not that far away.
But the thing you have to, and I can't answer this specifically, but the thing you have to look at is some of these projects that you're talking about have been in the mill for some time.
Yeah, no,
And accounted
So they've
for.
already been included in the,
okay, so
our
they,
situation. Okay, so that they're not new coming, they may be,
but you can handle,
Mill is
you
full.
can handle capacity of
Because
those
we're-
people that you
right,
expect
because
to
they're
come
already-
online in
because
the
they've
next
already been
year and a
approved.
half.
that's already been
Okay.
accounted for within the,
They're figured into the 80%
Yeah.
already.
yeah, it's already
Okay.
figured in.
All right.
I mean, it's just like, you're looking at, I mentioned Bourne. Bourne's got a 200,000 gallon a day. They use maybe 1.25, 110 right now, as far as we know. But that 200 is in that 80%, because that's what's been guaranteed them. So it's in there, it doesn't necessarily being used at the moment, but it's there. If they could turn on the spigot tomorrow and ramp it up, they could.
Okay.
That's one of the,
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate your information.
Okay, and you're not acting on my raise. Damn.
We took it under advisement.
Oh, that's right, number five, okay.
Under advisement.
Okay, I'll take that
We're
one.
We're on an
we're
executive
forming a
session.
committee to look into it.
He's got these bitcoins.
You like the microphone? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Next item, the warrant article in the Harbor Master. Is anybody representing Gary? No? Okay, next one, we'll move on. Item E is Norm is gonna tell us about back to food again.
Breakfast. So, I did a couple of things in the last week, that were pertinent to our business, including on Friday attending the Massachusetts Municipal Association Legislative Update Breakfast. Somehow I'm now on their email list, so I get news of some of these things. And this is, drove to Fairhaven, sat next to Alan Slavin, to hear what is going on at the state level and what the MMA is proposing to lobby for or against. It was a great meeting, lots of people around. There were several state representatives and/or staff members from state representatives, however, not ours. But it was a good chance to kind of see who the players are in the area. It was mostly people from the adjoining towns, although one person who sat at our table works for Weymouth but lives in Middleborough. So that was another interesting perspective. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about what I heard, but just thought you might be interested in a few of these things. Of course, they were just basically talking about the things that are being proposed in this next coming session, some of which may happen, some of which will not happen. But I think of a special interest to us, especially those of us who went to the presentation on Thursday about the police, potential police building, is there is a proposal to act to create an entity like the MSBA, but for public safety, that would provide funding, basically, for building police stations, fire stations, that sort of thing. Seems like a really promising area for somebody like us who would probably need to take advantage of that soon. On schools, and I'll talk a little bit more about schools later, they went over some of the things that are in the governor's budget, which is in general a pretty good boost to schools over what has been happening in the last couple of years, including a potential increase in the circuit breaker of about 40%. They're talking about increasing minimum aid, which doesn't really impact us because we qualify for aid without going into that category, but it would go up to $100 a student if the MMA is able to prevail on that. Other sort of highlights of that particular meeting were there's a proposal to allow remote and hybrid meetings on into the future, including town meeting. Don't really talk about how we're going to pay for technology for something like that if we ended up doing it, but that is, it is on the table at least. Increasing procurement cap for municipal purchases from 50,000 to 100,000, which would take away a layer of complication, I guess, in smaller contracts. Sort of bringing things up to date, I think. There's a proposal to authorize a revocation of the civil service statute by local option. All of these things, I think, are sort of, MMA is sort of approving of and pushing for, along with a lot of other things. I have more information on that if anybody's interested, that I could pass along. The thing I did on Monday was the Chapter 70 workshop, which a lot of you may be way ahead of me on that particular subject, but to me, Chapter 70 is just, before Monday was just basically a black hole. I have a very hard time, sort of wrapping my head around how complicated school finance is. But I found this extremely helpful. It was a 4-hour, actually 4.5-hour workshop, and I spent some time writing up notes afterwards, which again, I'm happy to share with people if you think it's helpful. But just a few things that I took away from that. This was led by a man named Mark Abrahams, who apparently is a bit of an expert on all kinds of municipal accounting, state accounting, and that sort of thing. He was actually very, very good. And he started out by saying Massachusetts has the most complicated funding formula he's ever seen, which made me feel a little bit better. It's not just me. He went into a lot of the highlights of the governor's budget. One of them that will affect us, I think, is that the low-income level cutoff is now 180, she's proposing 185% of federal poverty level instead of 133. So that puts more, I'm sure, of our student body into that aid level. It adds, for fiscal year '24, an additional 9.8% in Chapter 70 aid. It's a little bit of an improvement on assumed in-district special ed, although it's still not, as he said, doesn't bear any relationship to actual numbers, unfortunately. Enrollment statewide has ticked up a little bit this year for the first time in several years. There's a proposed $20 million increase for extraordinary special ed relief payments, which I think probably are meant to be pandemic and inflation related. Let's see. One thing that I found really interesting and sort of helpful in putting maybe our proposed budget, school budget, into perspective is there's net school spending, required net school spending, and there's actual net school spending. And there's a differential in almost all the districts. It's higher in almost all the districts, actual net school spending. Abrams said that it's statewide 23% differential, and that, in his opinion, that's sort of like the target, should be sort of the target. If you want to sort of show that you're trying to make your schools more than just adequate. The foundation budget is just adequate education. If we're trying to excel, if we're trying to do something beyond adequate, that's sort of a target to keep in mind. But he did point out that the school committee has total autonomy in how to spend the money. So we can't really force them to do anything with the money that we give them, I guess, that they don't want to do. That's really about it, except that I was a little disappointed. I printed out the directions and had me printing out some information about Wareham to bring to the class, and when I printed out the chart that he wanted us to use, Wareham's chart had a big drop on the information about net school spending. There's a foundation budget and so forth, and apparently that is because a report didn't go in. And I'm going to be interested in asking the school committee representative about whether that's been done now, why it wasn't done in a timely manner. Because I went ahead and looked through a lot of the other information about other schools, and this was the only one I found that had that issue. So it's a little hard to fully analyze our situation without having that kind of information.
Thank you. Any comments or questions?
Did he get into the mathematics of the foundation budget?
Very much so,
Yeah,
and
interesting, huh?
Formula, and I think I understand it, surprisingly. And I also know now where to go for more information. There actually is a lot on the state website.
Oh, the
You just-
DESE site.
Yes.
Yeah.
You just gotta know where to go to look for it, and then how to pull up the spreadsheets and look at them. But I'm happy to share the PowerPoint, my notes, anything else. If anybody wants it, just let me know.
Thank you.
With the DESE information that you mentioned, I wish they would break it down into regions, because you always get 351 cities and towns on the chart.
It's a lot.
You X off everything, and then you just click on the ones you want, and make your own region if you like.
Yeah.
You can definitely pull it up by district,
Hmm.
and get exact information. We did a lot of comparing. There were people from 20 different districts as a part of this workshop, and so he went through sometimes everybody's particular information. in a way that allowed you to kind of understand where you fall in sort of the spectrum.
Anything else? No, thank you, Norma.
Is the number of students going down in the state?
No, it's going up slightly right now.
But Wareham is down.
We're one of the
I think
few-
it's only
one
like-
of the few states that's happening.
Yeah, I think it's maybe 12,000 students this year for the coming year.
It's only down this year, it'll go up next year.
Well, it's down this year.
We got 400 new 40B housing coming in, it's going up next year.
You're a ray of sunshine too, aren't you?
It's the truth.
Okay, next item on our agenda is to vote on some articles that we haven't voted on yet. And as I go down to my list, let's see. Article 6 is the capital planning, and we will be discussing that next week. The FY '24 budget, I believe we'll be doing that on the 5th of April. I hope Derek has his act together by then. And the EMS budget, that was before the selectmen last night. And just a few notes here, that is funded through offset receipts. And as far as collections are concerned, we collect 80 to 90% of the billings. If those that are not collected, and we went through this before, and Tom made a comment about it in the billing process, going private, it often comes up. And they didn't mention any number last night as to how much the selectmen will forgive. They do it about every year. It's kind of quiet. As I said, they collect 80 to 90%. And, okay, the next one, Upper Cape. We haven't voted on that yet. Want to wait the week, or are you
I'll
all?
make a motion right now to recommend Article 9, Upper Cape Tech budget.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion, questions? There being none, I'll ask the clerk, call the roll, please.
Tom Hannon,
Yes.
Tom Worthing,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes?
Tom,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
myself, yes, Norma,
Yes.
and Bernie.
Yes,
900 to approve.
everybody gets dessert. I'm sorry. The enterprise fund, that actually is a combination, the fund, as Jimmy was describing, and the actual budget itself. They're two separate entities. One is developed by the superintendent and Derek, the same as any other department. And the enterprise fund is the user fees that are accounted for and used to subsidize that cost, that operating cost. We will transfer that monies in the motion for the enterprise fund. It's in a separate article because of that. But that's where those monies will be transferred from, to operate the sewer. Any questions?
There's a portion of that money that we hang on to because of the accounting and stuff like that that we provide to the sewer department. Is that in the total, or is that part of it? Is that buried within the performance of the enterprise?
No, there's a separate line item that accounts for the enterprise, for the funds,
Uh-huh.
the EDU costs, et cetera, that is, there's 3 or 4 pages in it in its entirety for this article, because there's supporting pages as to the percentage of each department that is charged to the enterprise fund or to the sewer department for operations.
So what Tommy, what you're asking, Tom, see if I'm right. Does the enterprise fund pay for that billing in the pot for the town? Yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you, Dominic.
Okay.
On that all-day budget that was presented to us, the total figure is 875, that you're talking, 875,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, the offset, or the indirect costs.
Is that a fair deal, do you think, Jerry?
Huh?
You think it's fair?
The calculations are there, yeah.
No, I mean,
Yeah,
looking
it's-
at the
it's-
things
it's
that the
a-
town provides.
It's reasonable percentages,
Okay.
sure.
Yeah. Because we have total salary and expenses of 5,400,000. Here's total debt of 3,120,000. I think everybody has this, just,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what
we
I
heard it.
presented.
yeah, okay,
So you want a recommendation? I recommend
yes, please.
Article 10, the enterprise fund for wastewater. Ugh.
We get the
Water
gist, we
pollution
get the
control
gist.
facility.
Second,
Motion's
Yes.
made and seconded. Any further discussion? They're being done, I have clerk call the roll, please.
Tom Hannon,
Yes.
Tom Worthing,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes,
Dom,
I guess, yes.
painful.
Jerry,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
myself, yes, Norma,
yes.
Bernie?
Yes.
motion passes 900.
Okay, the next one we haven't reviewed will be 18, which is the middle school replacement project, and we have the school department before us next week.
Yep.
And there's Article 30, which is terminating the contract as a business petition for Swift Speech,
Article 20,
Article 20.
please at 30.
Do you know what that's gonna cost us?
Is that gonna cost the
I
same?
don't think we have that
Yes,
information.
there is some
Oh,
written into the
I'm
I'm
contract.
sorry, yeah, how much
Yeah, there's fees, we don't know.
penalties?
They're evaluating that now.
So they don't have a number for that.
No, they do
I
not.
don't
But
know.
this is not a number for appropriation. This is an action. Actually, it's a resolution.
Right.
But the action has an expense. So I'd like to know that expense before I do anything,
Absolutely. I agree.
okay?
Yeah, Judy was here last weekend and she, last time,
But no one's come up with that.
Right.
Nobody's had a
No one's
number.
given us that number yet,
Right.
correct?
right.
Dom and I agree.
But there's,
Wow, that's a scary thought. I still love you though.
but there's two different issues here. If you don't pass 20, then you have the project itself. If you do
Project's
pass
been
20,
funded.
but again, it's just a resolution, so whether, there's no function, yes. You can
Just
say
make a
something.
comment about that. So I think I sent you as a follow-up to last week's presentation, that
Yes, you
article
did.
in the contract that said there's a 7-day, you can give a 7-day termination. There's a 7-day termination clause of the contract
Without harm? Yeah.
Without
without
penalty?
cost from then forward. I don't know how much has been spent yet.
Correct.
Yeah,
Obviously, we have to pay for
Sure,
what
there
we've
is
already
some
gotten.
Right.
Money
Yes.
that's already been spent, but there's a 7-day clause with no cost, and it's already been halted, so there isn't any, there shouldn't be any
But we
cost.
still
Going
need to know
forward,
that
yeah.
number that we're
There
out.
shouldn't be any cost happening right now, because it's been,
but I don't know if they've given notice.
There's already
at
a
this
cost
point.
occurred,
Yeah, the engineering costs are
and
already
that's what we
paid,
don't, that's what we don't know. We
Okay.
don't know
I think
what
that was a
cost has
separate
already
article.
occurred.
I think.
I'll ask Judy for that.
so the article would be to.
Judy Lazan, our accountant. She'll have a printout for me. The next one then is, we'll put that on hold, is Article 22, a petition and regarding the Parker Mills Dam. And that also is more of a resolution, but I'm not sure how the moderator want to handle it.
I'll make a motion to recommend Article 22, the citizens petition for Parker Mills Dam.
Well, should
Do you
we,
recall, something off the top of my head, I'm trying to recall what it was.
should we refer it to the floor?
Urge it to move forward.
Yeah.
basically.
No,
Yeah,
well, let me rescind, because I've thought about this, and then I heard from somebody today about this. I'm gonna make a motion to refer Article 22 to town meeting,
Refer instead of recommend.
That's fine, we've done
instead of
that.
recommend.
Mhm.
Second.
Very good. I like that.
Motion's made and seconded,
Wow.
any further discussion? Yes.
Coming from Dominic, that's a,
Hey,
like
before you
that
go to
idea.
the next one, if
Excuse
I
me.
just ask a question about the
Certainly.
prior one. Is there a way for either us or you to know what has been spent so far on the,
Yes, I can go, the accountant will give me a printout.
okay,
I'll get one,
okay, that would be
We're
great.
gonna find that out.
and I have your email.
No, I mean, we would
Sure.
wanna know that too.
Sure.
I know that.
I have your email, I'll make sure.
Okay, okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
Motion made to refer,
Let me
On Article
understand what
22.
what we're referring.
we're referring it to the floor town meeting. We're
What,
referring it to town meeting.
we're referring what?
Article 22 and the
Article 20.
petition for Parker Mills Dam.
And what is that petition?
It's
Well,
urging the
To
town
accelerate, basically.
basically
Yeah.
to take all
Acceleration to move
all
forward to
means
fix it.
possible to,
To urge the select board to use its authority to direct town council and such other professionals as may be necessary to immediately employ all legal and equitable means to determine what portion of the Parker Mills Dam, if any, is owned by AD Makepeace Company, so that the removal of the dam can proceed to protect health, safety, and welfare of Wareham
Why
citizens.
would we possibly be against that?
It's not that we're against it.
We're
There's
not
already
against
action- There's already action being taken.
exactly.
Aren't they already doing that, Tom?
Yeah, they're already doing it, so that there's no, this just becomes an action, it's not a,
How many i's can you dot? You know,
There,
how
there are
many
already
dots do you need?
negotiations going on.
right.
There
Um,
are or are not?
There
There
are,
Are,
Okay, so.
This is just a redundant,
yes.
it's a
it-
redundant
so-
statement.
You
We're
can
doing
vote,
it.
you can vote
Yeah.
in favor of it at town meeting, but what we're suggesting is just vote to let town
Let
meeting
town-
decide.
yeah.
Decide, yes,
right.
rather than us.
Right.
I think it's a
Okay,
safer
I mean, if
option.
supposing they say no.
Town meeting?
They're
It
already
won't
doing
change
We
it.
could, we
anything.
could recommend it, you can still say no.
Yes or no's gonna
Well,
change
he's
nothing,
saying,
Tom.
hurry up, so
Yes.
that's really
Right.
it.
Which, you know,
And we're saying
if
that's
you've
a
ever
great
negotiated
idea.
anything,
But they're
Very
already,
tough, it's a stupid.
they're already doing what they're doing,
Yeah.
so a yes vote isn't gonna really accelerate
At the end of
it.
the
And
day,
a
it's
no
up to town
vote
meeting.
isn't gonna stop it.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right, a vote from this
Simple,
committee is
right?
not gonna matter on this particular issue.
It's gonna be.
Okay.
So we're referring it to the
One
town
way or
floor to
the
allow
other.
them
Make
to
you
do.
feel better, Jerry?
We've been doing this since 2002.
But it's just.
It's ongoing, Tom.
It's been a
It's still
while,
gonna go.
Jerry.
On the motion to refer, may I ask clerk call the roll?
Tom Hannon,
Yes.
Tom Worthing,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes,
Dom,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yeah.
Jody,
Yes.
myself, yes, Norma,
Yes.
Bernie,
Yes.
motion carries 900.
Nice
When you-
rolling.
Just push this down one more time. If the person that writes this up as to why we voted this way, what are you gonna say?
That is
Doesn't
a
make
critical,
difference. Want me to write it? I'll do that one.
that is a critical issue
I
that
know.
we think that should be considered by the entire
Suck me right into that
town
one.
meeting.
And he took it out.
I mean, we let
No,
ourselves,
no,
we have
no,
to let
want me to.
ourselves off.
I'm not gonna arm
We're
wrestle
not
you
gonna
for that
commit
one.
anything, that's what we're
I'm not
doing.
gonna arm wrestle you for that
There
one.
isn't really an opinion of us. For the committee, finance committee isn't taking a
I'm
position.
getting thick on this, but-
No, you're not.
No.
I just don't think it's gonna make a difference either way. That's just
No.
my opinion.
I think he's frustrated.
Yes.
Because he has a daycare center that he's concerned about, and it's moving, you're right, at a very slow pace, so he wants to accelerate it, but it's really,
But this is
it's
not,
dependent on the parties.
that's right, and,
Right.
and we can't make,
You as a
We
lawyer
can't force
know
the,
how
we
quickly
can't
things
force the
move
court
in
to move any
court.
faster than they're already moving.
Yeah.
If
And we
it's
can't-
already in the
But
works.
and we
kids
can't
with
force
timelines,
Makepeace to
so
agree to
I've gotta- I'm
something.
gonna
We
put-
really
No,
can't.
you-
Say that
we
figure out
can't.
what happened.
No.
So that's the point,
But I
it's
would-
that we really, nothing we
There's
say
a-
right now is really gonna make a difference.
Right, a referral from us.
I would put make peace in the town in the room and saying you're coming out without, you're not coming out without a decision.
It was dismissed.
It was dismissed
That's what I
I'd love to do that with my
without
kids sometimes.
prejudice
I mean, it's crazy.
because of
I heard today,
a lack
Makepeace
of
owns,
fact.
Yeah,
they're in the high seventies.
yeah.
Rather
So
than
they didn't
35%.
see- they didn't-
Yeah,
they
it was
didn't
65,
didn't have a
35.
jump up at
The,
35 then.
the paperwork, the
Yeah.
paperwork he brought in
That's it.
is
This is all
accurate.
in
The
litigation.
paperwork he
Yeah.
brought in is
Yeah.
accurate.
Really,
So, I mean, that's what we need to go by, that's what the court sees. That's what
Okay,
the-
gentlemen, it's no action on our part.
That's where the.
So
It's,
I,
it's voted. It's
The
not-
the
I
debate
digress.
is,
Yeah.
That's what I
I'm
heard.
gonna pull it.
debating it is moot.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
So Article 22?
I couldn't prove it.
That was Article 22.
Yes,
Oh,
so that's the end of the
That's the
annual.
end of the annual. On the special, Article 1, S1 is for budget transfers. That's Derek. S2 is fund the parking program, Derek. S3 will be handled next week by Jerry
And Derek.
and Derek.
Does Derek know that?
Oh, yeah.
Is there a possibility to see an advance copy of the presentation or anything before?
We're only going to be interviewing everybody that same day, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We're supposed to get pictures and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, S
You're
four,
welcome, it's an open
no, I
capital,
know-
no,
I
Tom,
understand
it's
that, yeah.
open capital planning committee, 1 o'clock, you're welcome to attend.
okay, S4 is transfer of available funds, again, Derek. S5, pay access receipts to Wareham Community TV. We voted 800.
Housekeeping.
This is something we always do, it's a housekeeping issue. I do want to mention, though, I was talking with Jonathan after our meeting, the fees, the monies that we transfer by legislation, we receive them and keep them in an account here on the town side. Now, the fees are from you're using TV. Now, those of us who are transferring to the computer and using the computer, they lose money. Because only the fees from the TV is what they receive, so every time we transfer over, they lose money. In the legislation that Norma was mentioning, they have an option that they're going to continue doing the hybrid meetings, which means the separate entity, WCTV is a separate entity, receives no tax dollars at all. They have to hire an extra person to man the hybrid when we do that. And that's paid out of their fees that they are getting less of.
Aren't they negotiating the cable companies now?
Yes, and they're going on eggshells because they want to lower their fees.
What a shocker. So that number could change, it's 200 and some thousand every 6 months, right?
Yeah,
Something like that, yeah.
yeah.
It's under 500,000.
Point of order,
We're
Yeah.
staffing.
on a warrant, they changed the numbers from 5 down.
Yes.
Correct,
So PEG access is spring 6.
correct.
Okay, what they did is, first, spring 5, they threw in
Oh, yes,
revolving funds. Okay?
yes, you're right. I'm operating off an old sheet, my apologies.
You are correct.
Now, the revolving funds,
Is S5.
yes, that's 5, and it adds 2 funds. No, it doesn't add 2 funds. We have passed a year ago to create 2 new
New ones,
revolving
yep.
funds. One being Degas, and the other
Golf course.
golf course, Little Harbor.
Mhm.
And in the preparation of the warrant for the annual town meeting, those 2 were inadvertently left off. So we have to now do that, just vote for them. There's no money start changing hands or anything. It's just saying, yes, that revolving fund can continue. So can I have a motion on that? That'll be S5, okay.
So you want a motion to, S5, yeah. Motion to
Revolving funds.
recommend S5 revolving funds.
Motion's made, seconded. Any further discussion? Any questions? There being none, since there's no money involved, I'll ask for all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote 900. Okay, S6. Think is a union, not S6.
S6 is way in the TV.
S6 is the TV,
Yeah.
Which we already voted
7
on.
is union contract.
and we already voted on that one. S7 is union contracts, that'll be Derek. S8 is the opioid stabilization fund, opioid. I know nothing about that,
Judith's gonna come next week.
yes.
Yeah. That was a settlement with the companies and the town got about 150,000, give or take a couple bucks.
Yeah, $105,125.
105?
105, 125.
That was close to 150.
I am quoting what's in the warrant.
Yeah, no, I'm not doubting it.
500. Should be a lot more than that. Anywho.
Anywho,
I
Have you
digress.
sent us that warrant, the special yet?
no, I haven't received the official
Okay.
warrant yet. They just closed it, and it's, constable has to deliver it to me.
Interesting.
S9, the earth removal, again, Ken might do that, but then again, Derek's gonna be here.
Ken is coming for that one.
Ken's coming, thank you.
You know, I know I asked,
You had a big
didn't we
problem
already
with
do this?
No.
that. You got a big
We
problem.
didn't fund the study.
We didn't fund the study a couple of years
I'm
ago?
gonna tell you the problem.
No.
Yeah, he came in and said,
They're asking for
we're not
50,000.
collecting.
I know we're not collecting what we're supposed to be collecting.
Well,
I thought we did the
I think
engineering
we
study.
urged
No, the
They
transfer,
never
towns
even made
to look at
50,000.
Yeah, he
not
did-
to
they
exceed
were-
50,000 to
the town
hire a
would take that.
consulting engineer to
Over 20
review
years.
earth removal in the town of Wareham.
Right.
Isn't this some of the extra money
I
that we have?
understand that.
Is that,
But
that where that's coming
Yes.
from? The extra,
Transfer
Fiscal
from available
23.
funds.
yeah.
So
This is
why
the one
spend
that Judy
50
was
grand
saying,
to
which
lose
is
money? It's not
to establish a
business.
baseline, right?
That's my
Yeah.
opinion.
Well, I think that article was only for one, to look at one
Okay.
company. I think that's where the problem with that
Can't
one was.
Yeah,
spend
I know
money to do-
which company that is.
Okay, moving on.
That's all
S10
it is.
is West Wareham School, and we've been advised that that article will be withdrawn.
Okay.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, really? They took it
Okay.
off?
Yeah.
They must have heard us last week.
It was a dormer window on the second floor that's an issue right now,
Oh, okay.
where they're aged, they wanna be a historic building or something.
But can we go back
Oh,
to,
now
can we
it
go
must
back to?
be
that's not
added
even-
on after the
Or
fact.
you wanna wait till we hear about it?
Now they gotta.
The earth removal?
Yeah.
What's
I'd
that?
rather wait till we heard about
Next
it.
week.
Now they gotta
It
watch.
really is, it's news to me.
On the second
No,
floor
the only thing I
that
was
takes
going to
away
say
from,
is-
this,
When you remember.
The original
$50,000.
historic
It
building.
has never made 50,000, and even if they get everyone, it'll take 100 years for that program to make 50,000. So why would you spend so much money to lose money?
Well, we can ask Ken about that.
Yeah, I have no idea. I couldn't even guess how much they're losing by not.
25 cents a
I-
ton or 10
It's
tons?
a lot of sand going
A
out.
lot.
It's a lot.
50,000, they couldn't make it
Wait, what do you,
in our
what do you-
lifetime.
what context are you talking 50,000?
The engineering
The
study.
engineering
The
study.
engineering study, yeah. I
Okay,
mean,
well,
you're
you're
talking-
gonna spend, now you're a businessman, you're gonna spend $50,000 when you couldn't make $50,000 in 100 years in that program.
Not to exceed 50,000, yeah. Oh, I understand where you're coming from.
Okay, all right.
Okay,
It's okay.
I understand, just,
Thank you.
I agree with you, I agree with you.
I
Spending an
like-
awful
I
lot
like
of money to
business-
find out
I
how
like
much.
businesses to make money, not knowing you're gonna lose money.
I move we recommend S11 Bayview Park.
Second.
Yep.
CPC funds.
CPC funds out. Yep.
Yes, yes.
Second.
I already seconded.
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, only step on
No,
your toes.
try to keep up with you.
I know I'm slow tonight, but I'm
Gotta be careful
I
there, Dominic.
apologize.
Be careful. Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? Questions? There being none, may I have clerk call the roll, please?
Tom Hannon,
Yes.
Tom Worthing,
No.
Julie,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes. Shouldn't say no, I know, Tommy, I know.
Jerry,
No.
You know what,
Jody?
guys, excuse me, go.
Yes.
myself, yes, Norma,
Yes, you can't change your vote.
Bernie.
Why can't I change my vote? Can I change my vote, Bernie?
Of course you can.
Excuse me, you know what, I'm gonna go.
I'm
on.
sorry, my hearing aids aren't working.
Mine
this
work
evening.
fine, okay? I'm gonna go back to saying no, not yes.
Okay, clerk call, begin calling roll again, please.
Sorry, guys.
All right, one more time. Tom Hannon,
Yes.
Tom Worthing,
No.
Julie,
Yes.
Dominic,
No.
Jerry,
No.
Jody,
Yes.
myself, yes, Norma,
Yes.
and Bernie.
Yes.
6-3-0, motion carries.
Next one, S11, Wareham Littleton Drive.
But is that 12 now?
That's 12.
12, excuse me.
I move we recommend S12 Wareham Littleton Drive.
Second.
Meeting
CPC funds.
passed
CPC, yeah.
and seconded. Any discussions?
I said my piece weeks ago.
We know exactly where you stand.
There being no questions or answers, may the clerk call the roll, please?
Tom Hannon,
No.
Tom Worthing,
No.
Julie,
No.
Tom,
No.
Jerry,
No.
Jody,
No.
myself, no, Norma,
Yes.
and Bernie.
No.
1-8-0. Motion fails.
I guess I'm writing that one up.
can write the pros, so should someone write the cons where it's so negative?
If they wish, by all means.
You don't think I can cover the whole thing?
No, I'd love you to, but where you're pro, I didn't want you to, hurt the nose.
You don't think it'll be obvious that I was the only person who voted this way?
Go for it then, babe, go for it.
Okay, S13 is Harbor Services Permit Receipts Reserved for Appropriations.
I'm supposed to hear that
But,
tonight. He said he
We're
was
supposed to-
coming.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened.
but that was just adding the outboard
Pretty-
engines to it.
pretty
I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
straightforward.
Pretty straightforward.
Clarification actually from the form.
Yeah, there's
I
a
mean, I don't
change.
have a problem, I mean, I've heard about the engines and.
Yeah, there's a change to the amount on the engines, isn't there?
Yeah, that's why I withdrew the earlier one.
from a previous article.
Right.
And this one is vessel dockage at $4,750. Supplies to build public kayak and dinghy rack storage, $4,000. And outboard motor replacement additional expenses of $10,000. That's the total
Yeah,
of $18,750.
I move we recommend S13 Harbor Services Permit Receipts Reserved for Appropriations Accounts.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. Any further discussion, questions? There being none, may the clerk call the roll, please.
Tom Hannon,
Yes.
Tom Worthing,
Yes.
Julie,
Yep.
Tom,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Jody,
Yes.
myself, yes, Norma,
Yes.
Bernie,
Yes.
900, motion carries.
The next one is a density and dimensional regulations,
it
and
next-
Ken is
Ken's coming
coming.
in next
next
So
week.
do,
yeah.
he'll do
But the
that.
next two, he'll talk
both
about
Ken.
next week, yeah.
Yeah, okay, excellent.
The,
Okay.
the next two though, they never gave a number to the last one,
I've gotta ask what's going on there. They must have a number because the warrant closed, but
Yeah,
I don't know what it is.
yeah.
17.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know,
We'll find out.
We'll find out when it's delivered.
Yeah,
I know Ken's coming next week, cause I was in there for something else, and I told him, wake me up when you're done.
oh, that's not nice.
Oh, he understood.
I told him we would put him first on the agenda.
Okay. Writing of the, two things. Not next week, but the following week, so you got 2 weeks left. I'd like each of you to have your paragraph written for the chairman's message section that's over. And I would also like that date, if not sooner, the explanations or for the finance committee recommendation
I think we
for
said
the individual articles.
April 3rd, Monday, April 3rd, if possible.
Yes. As early as,
the paragraph,
what we're Yeah.
gonna write?
beg your pardon?
Have we finalized?
Whatever you feel like.
Whatever you feel like.
Oh,
What do you
we
feel
thought
like?
about picking a committee and talking about it, but no, okay.
So,
You can pick
I'm a
a,
little
It's your ability, opportunity to have an individual opinion of what is going on within the budget.
Okay,
Not what is going on with totally financially with the town?
mhm.
No, really, because we are the finance committee.
So Bernie, do me a big favor, explain it to me now, I'm still a little lost on what actually you'd like the paragraph to be about.
Your view of
My
the
view
finance,
of
the town more,
town
importantly,
finances?
yes.
And I love Tom's idea, 250 words or 30 seconds. is that what-
seconds, 90 words.
No, 90 words, I'm sorry.
a paragraph.
words,
It's
good.
basically
My
a
view of
paragraph.
town
Yeah,
finances.
I've never heard that before, I said, I like that.
Well, yeah, because the average person reads 180 words a minute, so you have 30 seconds really with
I just learned something tonight.
the average person.
So Bernie,
I know
one
you're a
point of
speed
order.
reader,
Yeah, I
Yes.
read like
The
2,000,
special does not
2,500 a minute.
close until Monday, March 27th.
That's what I thought. It
Not,
hasn't,
not this week,
Next week.
it hasn't closed yet.
Next
March
week.
27th, not next, when's
Next week.
March 27th? Monday, March 27th.
27th is very close.
It's Monday, yeah.
Monday.
Yeah, today's the 22nd.
Jerry, I just noticed, you have a new computer.
Oh. It's not new, I've got this secondhand. It's 5 years old.
Hey,
He's not gonna
he's
buy
had
it.
it for a couple of
I
weeks.
saw him picking it off a back porch someplace.
Is that what was
I
in there?
posed as a FedEx
I was
delivery.
gonna say, was that what's on the Amazon box?
Those porch pirates.
You got caught on a ring camera, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Seriously, when do you want,
By the 3rd of April?
on the.
By the 3rd of April, no later, because we have to
Paragraph
put
on
it
the
in.
3rd of
and
April.
put the
These
whole,
paragraphs are gonna be
Are we gonna,
just this, the budget, or how the finances are working within the town, or what?
how the finances are working in the town is an appropriate phrase to start with.
So it's, I mean, it's okay to put some left.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Could be a real downer.
are we going to,
How are you gonna explain to the people that, as it appears in front of them?
are we gonna review them as a group or no?
Is it-
No,
You're gonna just deal with it?
well, I
What
write
if
it,
it's inappropriate,
every-
what if
every-
there's some
every-
things that are
even when you do
inappropriate, I've
the
been
rec-
known to
when you do the
go off
recommendations,
the edge a
We're
little.
gonna give
Well,
Dominic the
that's
sewer
gonna-
department, let him write about that.
That's gonna go through, that's
Can
gonna
I
go through the
also
chair.
weave in the pitch for people to volunteer somehow?
Yeah.
Can I connect it to the,
Absolutely.
About the, yeah, you're right about the town.
I think it's a good idea.
How it helps finances, having groups.
I'm wondering about how it
Well,
gets
Great idea.
presented so that it comes across as
well, either,
Not a lot.
Tom, either you
choppy
or your
things.
lovely wife, one or two, writes very well for you.
Ghost
I
writer,
use this chap, whatever it is.
chatbot. That's what we should do. We should just let chatbot write our chairman's
Just
message.
use the AI, that's,
Yes,
What is it?
it's artificial intelligence.
AI.
You put in a topic and it writes
But
something for you.
you're gonna get up and you're gonna read, you're gonna see eight paragraphs, is that right?
I don't read that, no.
Or-
Yeah,
But it's
It'll
published
just
on
be-
the front
You're
page.
introducing it as some idle thoughts from the finance committee.
I think that's a
meeting?
great way to introduce it.
Well, it's,
I don't.
It's
The
your
only trouble, Tom, is you have
viewpoint.
to sign your paragraph,
I
and
think
you have
maybe
to know that it came
reflections
from you.
of the
Yes,
finance
reflections, I
committee.
like that.
Yeah,
It's
right.
everybody reflect on something, you know, and we'll figure out how to tie it together. It'll work, it'll work. And if
So
it doesn't, we'll use the
Wednesday-
chatbot.
Wednesday night
Is it
reminiscence.
like an app you put on your phone or app on your computer?
I don't even know,
We're
I've
gonna
never
have to
done it,
put
but
our
it's all the
name on
rage
our
right now.
paragraph.
It's
Thoughts
all the
from
rage right now.
Yeah,
You're
you
not
have to
reading the
sign
news
it, can't be
apparently.
anonymous.
Not bad.
You have to do a.
That's not
And
gonna
it
work,
can't all
it's not
be-
gonna work
it
for
can't
me.
all be
Comes up with some
downer.
really weird stuff.
So
And
find
I-
something positive.
Even when
It's
you've
worth
done
a
your
try.
recommendations, I've always written them as you've written them. The only time I add is when Dominic gave me one line,
Well, I
and we're
don't.
spending $30 million, and he's got one
You
line.
get to the point quick.
That's right. Thank you, Jody, thanks for backing me up.
yeah, we- that's-
Well, actually, I picked
Bernie,
three
as long
that-
as you explain what
I actually
happened and
picked
how
three
we
that
come
I'm
to it.
actually interested in.
Yeah.
So I'll write more, okay?
Okay.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and second, any discussion? No, wait a minute, that, a motion to adjourn is, no, there is no discussion.
No, there's not.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I learned that last night listening to the selectmen.
Yeah.
Judy wanted to cut them off.
Apparently they can